Hey folks, welcome back to another video. So I thought I'd shoot outside again. It's Texas, so it's going to be 100 degrees today, but this morning it's like in the mid 80s, but like 80% humidity, so it's still pretty hot. Probably going to see me sweating a little bit. I finished my morning walk this morning. It was supposed to be 10 minutes. I went 45 minutes. Whoops. I'm trying to actually tone that down a little bit to kind of help some of my recovery. I don't feel like I'm not recovering, but I do feel like my performance a little bit in weightlifting in the gym is down just a little bit. And so I need to probably cut back a little bit on my cardio and work towards the weightlifting piece. But anyway, I'm 179 pounds now, a little bit closer to 180. I'm like 179.8. Again, I weigh myself every morning right after I get up, go to the bathroom, weigh myself, and then I log it every day. That is a surefire way to essentially ensure that you are counting your calories correctly and you're not overeating, is by tracking your weight every day and looking at that weekly average. And there's a lot of apps and stuff that'll do that. Fitbit will do that. You can just do it manually. You can do it yourself. That's cool. So last video I talked about fatigue, and I talked about my low testosterone, total testosterone number being in the 150s. And somebody had asked me in the comments, like, what did you do to fix that? I didn't really talk about that. I wanted to actually save that for a whole episode. And so that's this episode. So if you're a man and you have a ton of fatigue, foggy, thoughts, restless nights, not sleeping well, low libido, a little bit problems with the extracurricular activities, if you know what I mean, that kind of thing, those symptoms may be an indicator that you have low testosterone. Not every time, because you can usually take one or two of those symptoms and say, oh yeah, I have that, I must have low testosterone, and you don't. About guys and testosterone, we know a few things, right? So testosterone will decrease the older you get. Okay, so it peaks when you're in puberty. After your puberty, it starts this just kind of general decline your whole life. But to be 47 years old, now in pretty good shape, and to have 150 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone first thing in the morning, and you should always get it tested first thing in the morning because that's when it's highest, and then it drapes off during the day. That's not good. Now there's some arguments to be said that maybe my whole life I've been at 150. I don't know. I never had my testosterone tested till I was 47 years old. So I don't have any baseline data to know whether I was 150 my whole life and my body was just okay with 150. I have no idea, unfortunately. But all I know is the amount of fatigue I was feeling after I lost weight and brought my calories up to maintenance and my macros up to maintenance. I felt terrible. Like I could not function as a father, as a husband. At work, I was constantly falling asleep, and my sleep was good, exercise was good, macros were good. So what is happening? Like I lost weight, I'm exercising, I should be feeling better, right? Everybody talks about how great you're gonna feel and everything else. I felt worse. So that was really frustrating to me to do basically 4 months of busting my butt to lose a bunch of weight to feel worse. And so I didn't want to go back to eating the way I was eating and living the way I was living because I knew that wasn't good because my numbers, my blood numbers, and maybe I'll do an episode on that where I trend my numbers for you. It's pretty interesting to see that. But I knew I was getting to the point of kind of like degrading my health. So I wonder can you see ghosts rolling around in the background? Yeah, I think you can. That's hilarious. I didn't want to go back to that. So what am I going to do? So I go to my doctor, my general practitioner, and he's like, hey, let's get a blood test. Let's check your testosterone. And I was like, okay. So check my testosterone. Yeah, sure enough, 150 nanograms per deciliter, first thing in the morning. Yeah, total testosterone. And that's awful. That is really bad. The normal range for a dude is supposed to be 300 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. So I'm half of the lowest, So anyway, that was, I'll tell you, psychologically, that was kind of a kick in the pants. I was kind of like, Jennifer heard me saying a couple times, am I not a man? What's going on? So exactly. So that was Chewy. So I was trying to figure out what did I do wrong? Well, it was my lifestyle, being obese for the better part of 10 years, not sleeping well, being under high stress at work, not eating well, not exercising, yeah, that will tank your testosterone. Will it ever recover? I don't know. And that's the question that I wish I could answer. I don't know if it would have ever recovered. And I could still find out, but what I ended up deciding to do after a lot of different research is I went ahead and started testosterone replacement therapy. And so I had a couple rules with that. One, if I saw any side effects whatsoever, I was going to basically stop. And that's the good thing is, like, once you stop, like, you're going to go back to the level that you had before. That's pretty well tested. Even like bodybuilders that have been on, thousands of milligrams of testosterone for years and years and years get off of it, and their level, they still produce a natural level of testosterone. So if I saw any side effects, I was going to get off of it. But I'll tell you, like, I was dead against it. Like, at first, it took me like a month to decide. And after doing a bunch of research, talking to a couple people that I found out were actually on testosterone, I saw some pretty terrible videos. Like, Dr. Mike Israetel talked about, all the things about testosterone, testicle atrophy, so basically your testicles like shrink into, like, I don't know if half the size or what. You can get cystic acne. So we're talking like not pimples, we're talking like acne on your back and things. You could develop breast tissue from estrogen spiking in response to testosterone spiking. There's like your hair falls out, you grow more body hair, like, which is still bizarre to me. I know it has something to do with DHT and the follicles in your mind, in your head, but it's still amazing to me that you would grow body hair, but you'd lose all your top hair. But anyway, it's bizarre how the body works. So I was pretty dead against it. But then I talked to a couple people and they were like, yeah, I've been on it 6 months, been on a year, been on it 5 years. Like, it's really not a big deal, dude. Like, what's your problem? And, so I'm looking at fatigue right in the face, and I'm really upset about that. And I'm looking at this thing, and I know I can, like, try it, and if I don't like it, I can stop, because you will regenerate, like I mentioned. So I was like, what the heck? So I went to my GP. He prescribed 200 milligrams of testosterone cypionate every 2 weeks. And at the time, I was like, man, I've normally heard that it's like you shoot every week. You take an injection every week. So I was a little confused. I didn't really understand that dosing protocol. Well, when I went out and looked at the medicine journals for standard dosing, that's kind of textbook, is 200 milligrams every other week. And so I did that. I did 200 milligrams every other week. And I'd say about 2 months in, I started feeling better. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, this is working. But what I noticed was, like, the second week after my shot, so the week leading up to my next shot, I was crashing. Like, I felt that fatigue really bad. And then I get a shot and I go back up and down, and back up. And if you think about it, so I started to kind of look into how this whole, testosterone thing gets produced in our body. And I started to understand it's a very pulsatile type operation, right? So hypothalamus, pituitary, FSH, LSH, pulsing down to the testes, say, hey, create testosterone. It creates testosterone. That gets distributed, binds to certain molecules, that kind of thing. So, I started looking into that, and I'm not a endocrinologist or anything like that, but I know enough to kind of understand that the way our bodies make testosterone is in a pulsatile manner. So basically, it pulses out more in the morning, and then it just kind of fades out as the day goes on. So when I was blasting 200 milligrams every 2 weeks, basically my test was going through the roof, and then, this sharp decline, because I think the half-life of testosterone cypionate is like 10 days or 12 days or something like that. So going 14 days shot to shot, I was basically doing that, crash. Like super physiological amounts. I think I had one blood test a week after I shot, and my total testosterone was in the mid 500s. So I can't even imagine, like, let's just say that half of it wore off 1 week in. Like, that may mean that I was at the top end range, like in the 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. Now, I'm surmising that I'd have to get a blood test like the day after I inject to understand, to really get the data on that. But like, I did not want to be super physiological and then drop down to nothing, right? So, it's interesting because my doctor retired. And so I was like, oh, I got to find a new doctor. So I went to another doctor, and they were like, yeah, you don't want to do that. We need to be injecting you at least once a week. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm on a weekly dose. I haven't really noticed any difference because now I'm taking 180 milligrams every week, 1 time a week. And I've only been on that for a couple weeks now, so I don't really know. I think it's been 3 weeks. So I don't really know. I don't have enough data to understand how that feels yet. I'm going to give that about 3 months and kind of reassess. I'm going to get a blood test in about 2 weeks, so I'll know what my total test is on the weekly regimen. But there's guys out there that even say that they actually shoot their testosterone every other day to try to get closer to that pulsatile, natural rhythm of testosterone. And I'm not keen on injecting myself every other day. Now, they use like insulin needles because the amount of testosterone that you have to inject every other day is very small. And the oil, the cypionate, the ester that testosterone in is actually what makes it hard to inject because it's very thick. It's oil. It's like an oil. So you do have to have typically a bigger needle and a wider needle, and then you have to have a longer needle because it has to be intramuscular. So you have to shoot it into a bigger muscle. So you can do that in your arm, you can do that in your thigh, you can do it in your buttocks. I do it in my glute because I found that just kind of works for me better. But yeah, I basically have to inject myself like once a week, every week with a needle that's 1.5 inches long. And for me, like, that's worth the fatigue. Like, the fatigue's gone. Like, I'm doing really well now. I don't have the kind of fatigue and crashing that I was having like in the afternoons and things like that. And I haven't changed anything. Like, I'm eating a little more calories, but even when I was eating at maintenance, with the same number of carbs, same number of protein, same calories and fats, I feel way better. I think the big thing for me now is like psychologically, I kind of know like a lot of my, not a lot, but my progress kind of towards when I started injecting to now is somewhat enhanced, right? I'm no longer what they call a natty or a natural. I don't really care because before I couldn't function as a human. Now I can function as a human. So I think I've made my peace with it. And I'm going to keep doing it. But I do have some regrets, and here are a couple of regrets. One, maybe I should have given it more time. Now, it's easy for me to say right now because I'm not experiencing that fatigue. It was crippling, like straight up crippling. I couldn't work out in the gym. I couldn't like play with my kids in the afternoon. I couldn't make it through a work day. It was horrible, right? So maybe I could have waited a couple more months to see if it came up. Okay, that's one thing. Maybe I have some kind of physiological problem. Maybe, is it something in my testes that aren't working right? Is it something between the signal in my brain to my testes that's not working right? Is it a mineral deficiency, vitamin D or something like that? Is it one of those? Could be. I don't know. But the amount of time it would have taken me to figure that out, all that while I would have had a fatigue. So I don't know. Now the good news is that I can go back and go off testosterone and troubleshoot that if I want to, but I'm gonna have to be prepared to have the fatigue again. I'm convinced. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that. That I'm just kind of happy where I am. I'm enjoying my life a lot better, and I have more energy. I still get sad. I still get happy. I still get pissed off. I'm still kind of the same Jake. I think. I hope. But yeah, so we'll see. I might go off it one day in the future and try to troubleshoot, my normal endocrine system to see if I can boost my testosterone. Some other things you might be able to do. So if you're in this boat, like if you're at 150, you got to make the decision for yourself whether to do it or not. You may not feel the effects maybe as drastically as I have, so you have a little bit more time. You can deal with it a little longer. To try to go to and I would encourage you to go to an endocrinologist and figure this out. Like, your general practitioner is great at like identifying a marker, but to treat an endocrine system, you need an endocrinologist, like somebody that really knows their stuff, and find somebody that has good references too. So that's one thing. Second thing, you can also do the supplement route, right? So Andrew Huberman, I just watched a podcast to him. He did one on supplements, and he was talking about how to boost your natural testosterone using things like ashwagandha and some other things. So you might check that out. I'll post that in the description, the link to that, because I think it's a great one to watch regardless. That guy's really smart. He knows his stuff, and I just like the way he balances his approach, where like he's very scientific and very methodical about how he tests things and tests theories and things. I really like his stuff. For the people that are maybe like 300, 350 nanograms per deciliter total, I don't know, man. You're still in range, so that's a personal decision. But you know, I think for me, if I was that and I wasn't having the fatigue, and somebody was like, "You need to be on testosterone," it's like, yeah, but why? Like, is there? Okay, so maybe I'm a little sleepy. Okay, am I getting enough sleep? How is the quality of my sleep? Am I drinking caffeine, or am I, you know, eating like a cheeseburger, you know, right before I go to sleep so I can't sleep? You know, like, try to maybe figure out some of those other things. You know, fix up your diet. Are you still eating a lot of, right? Chewy concurs. You know, maybe you're still eating a lot of fast food. You know, try cutting that out. Try upping your exercise. Maybe lower your exercise a little bit. Maybe you're overdoing it. I would probably do those things if I was in the lower normal range before I just jumped right on TRT. But yeah, I think that's basically it. So if you have any questions about this, you know, put it in the comments. I'm happy to answer it, and I'm pretty transparent, as you can see in this video. Like, most people just don't like, hey, I'm on test, yay. But I want to share some thoughts. You know, my main reason for making this video is I just wanted to share some thoughts on my thought process of going through whether to decide to do something like this, start to tweak these natural things in our bodies that maybe some people feel you shouldn't be tweaking. But for me, it was just the point to where my life was not sustainable at that level. So let me know. Let's have a conversation about it. So I hope everything's going well for you. I hope that calorie tracking is going well. Let me know how that's going. If you lost a little weight, let me know how that's going. If you haven't lost weight, you know, let's definitely dig into that and understand why that might be. But keep up the great work. I know you can do it, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.